What up? What up? It's good. Woo! Shit. Turn this remote back. Alright. Have some more last Remnant. That's another 4 days on the channel, man. 6 grand back. As soon as you get offline. Fuck that. Motherfucker, hey. They're playing games with me. Ooh!
Excellent.
Cool.
Let's do this. Brilliant, yeah.
Of the promise that is the art's namesake as Shinigami and Quincy clashed in an explosive, epic showdown that spanned the entire season. With their home invaded and transformed beneath their feet, the Shinigami struggled for survival against an unstoppable foe, using everything in their arsenal to try and overpower their enemy. And of course, that means Bankai too. Clearly see Bankai as an enormous threat, and rightly so. The Vandermike Sternritter came prepared in the first invasion, stealing the Bankai of several captives and effectively shutting it down as a weapon to be used against them in the future. Not only that, but the Sternritter then actively turned the Bankai against the captains, using it to decimate them in combat. However, the start of Part 2 and the second Quincy invasion, Kisuke Urahara, utilising his hollow research undertaken in Wave Mundo, performed a miraculous upset and helped the captains restore their stolen Bankai, lifting the lock on using them and unleashing their fury in the battles to come. To that end, then, Part 2 of the Thousand Year Blood War Arc anime revealed a ton of new Bankai, as well as some upgrades to previous ones. So in this video, we're going to take a look at all of the new Bankai revealed in episodes 14 through 26. Which is your favourite? Let me know down in the comments. Before we get started on the video, guys, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure to do that now. We'll release content like this every single week. Drop the video, winding up with it. Make sure you hit that thumbs up as well to help support me and the channel. And if you want to support me another step further, I do have a Patreon as well. And as always, I want to say a massive thank you, give a huge shout out to everyone supporting me there over on Patreon. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Of course, this video will be filled with spoilers for the Thousand Year Blood War Arc Part 2 and maybe
Let's do this.
Hey, what's up, Mahomes?
Birthday open.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I don't know that Kelly and you heard that.
Yes, I am.
We shall stop them here.
Sufficient.
Now.
Don't be birthday cake.
I'm not really doing anything. Probably going. Well, no, I have going still with my thing. I ain't seen in a while. I might put something stuff out at 2 I was gonna pick it last night, but I ended up.
Dang. So you better go ahead and store that shit on there for
Why you say that?
so then they give you free party.
Let's do this.
Mine. I don't like gambling, so.
They can pay for your first and stuff. They say, don't take your money when that's stuff there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't like gambling, so I wouldn't even go.
We shall stop them here. You require assistance.
that long, just can't get there to work. So, you know, I have to take some break, come back, go back to work. Tell me why.
This is our big chance.
Yeah, I was chilling at the crib. I took some food out. I was get my homegirl. My homegirl hit me, and I ended up just going over there and like, play please. Like, fuck, put down, wait.
Little
But
by little,
I'm not
I'm becoming stronger.
Yeah. Trap is still sitting there in some salt water, soaking. Seasoned up some chicken.
Let's do this.
I got my fucking scallops in there because it's had some scallops hanging out.
The winner's the one who strikes first, yeah?
Yeah, but
Forward!
I think my make it soup too, but I'm not sure. It doesn't fit, but I think this is like
Little by little, I'm becoming
yeah,
stronger.
I got some stock, so I'm probably gonna do something with it. I'm gonna try to make something with it, you know. A little experiment. I don't know. Yeah, because I honestly don't even know if I want to drink tonight. Nah, I might try to drive. I'm trying to do this shit. I'll probably get something from a pop's house, and then I'll pick up. I think three from my boy up. But I may have been about too late. I don't know. It depends. I haven't watched any new movies yet. I haven't gone to theater in a long time. I haven't watched any movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go find a way to get to the thing. I just haven't had real drive to go check out anything. That's all it is. Like, that's all it is.
Let's rock!
Yeah, you're saying that you want that to go take the night, but I think yeah, right.
Okay.
Come on, let's get some
And then warm us up.
I want to too.
Yeah.
I want to see
mystic stuff.
came out. Yeah, I wanted to go see it. I didn't go. The last movie I went to the theater to go see was Mario Brothers.
Come on out!
They go on my side. That's what it is.
Okay, later.
It's kind of the phone thing here. When they told them when they get papers and I like what they turn to look like this.
Let's do this.
take all that.
We shall stop them here.
I ain't cool. I had a friend of mine who wasn't sure about it. I was like, bro, look, come on my house. We're gonna watch the whole thing. And then yo, I two movies, so I didn't have to take the time.
I know I'm good.
I'm gonna put that on, bro. Are you sure? I'm like, dude, it's really not as bad as that. I put it on when we watched that shit. He was like, that really wasn't that bad. See, I was like, see, I told you, bro. I'm talking about the newer one. So, yeah, I put that. We watched the '90s one, and then we watched the newer one.
The best defense is a
He was like, that really wasn't that bad. I was like, see, I told you, man. Listen to all these people talk shit about this movie. It's their movie. Like, it's not like
come on. Let's
theatrical masterpiece and shit like that. It's a fun little movie, you know. It's entertaining. Yeah, that movie was good. I didn't really know about that. I was really close to surprised when I tried to do it. I kind of knew it was going to be good though. Once I think it was some of the other commercials for the fun little movie. Because I remember how good the Sonic movie was, and I was like, I think this is going to be good.
You'll find no fitter opponent than I.
So, the Sonic movie was good. You know, like, I was telling people, like, if the Mario movie is half as good as the Sonic movie, it's going to be alright. Oh, you talking about Pixel. I didn't see it. I heard it was alright.
Games that say that
I heard about that movie. I didn't really watch it, but I did hear about it. Yeah. I was really surprised about that. Yeah. Yeah, I was really surprised at how the movie was, or that movie got made of it.
Not bad.
Yes. No, the actor. Yeah.
Little by little, I'm becoming stronger.
It looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I've seen it too. I watched a lot of stuff, videos and stuff on it. You talk about Mortal Kombat, right?
Okay, later.
Yeah, you talking about the new Mortal Kombat, right? Yeah, this most recent game, it has cool little stuff in it. Yeah, I'm looking at. I was looking at the DLC that's about to drop. With all the characters they're at, and they're about to end.
Let's do this.
What's it called? Who did John Cena play in Suicide Squad? Fucking Peacemaker.
Take the upper hand.
Peacemaker's gonna be in the game. I don't know.
That goes back.
That's really kind of cool. They just dropped the trailer for the first DLC character. It's gonna be Omni-Man from Remnant.
Come on.
Yeah, it's gonna be the first character they put these DLCs. It's a bunch of like stuff from like superhero stuff. So it's like there's gonna be Homelander, the boys,
Little by little.
Omni-Man,
It was a glorious day.
and then Peacemaker from Suicide Squad.
Oh,
And then there's gonna be another.
somebody got it there. So,
And it's gonna be a couple of characters from actual Mortal Kombat games. I think it's gonna be like Ermac, Chi, and then I think it's Kata. But yeah, it's gonna be there's 3 superhero characters, and then it's like
Charge. No.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like what they had. Like in the Injustice games, they had and shit. That's pretty good. And I know in the last Mortal Kombat game, they had a bunch of action movie actors. So it was like, yeah, like Robocop, Terminator, yeah, Rambo. So that was pretty cool.
We shall stop them here.
Tulsa? Oh, there was a show. There was a show I saw advertised on Netflix with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to watch that shit. He's like an FBI agent, some shit like that. And like, he's supposed to be retiring and find out that his daughter is joining the FBI, so he doesn't retire, so he can make sure she's safe and shit. It was funny. I was like, oh, yo, okay, this is what this is. Oh, shit. Huh. Huh. That's cool. Very good. Yeah. Oh, the one with the maid. Hey, would be like,
She found this out by sitting up beside it. Got a whole other child.
oh yeah, I forgot to add that kid and it was like super old. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Forgot that pregnant and old shit. That shit's wild. Governor California for a while too.
Smash him on the side. I need the other one. The other one.
Yeah. Yeah. I just seen it advertised. Well, I seen it on YouTube. Some like not clips, but like little reactions and people talk about it and shit like that. I'm like, all right, cool. Not bad. I saw the first one, but I haven't seen.
Let's do this.
I think I've seen the first. No, I seen the first and the second movies. Those were good. I want to say I seen the third one. I forgot which one Van Damme is in. He plays a bad guy. He's actually very
Forward.
good.
Show no mercy.
That's really good. I remember watching it. Oh,
Attack them from that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is our big chance.
I want to see. Yeah, this is in the first. No, he's in the second. He's in the second. To the third.
Sweet. Little by little, I'm becoming stronger.
Yeah, they always get like either action actors or like kind of athletes or something in movies and stuff, but it's usually like kind of the same forecast, and then they'll get people from like athletes and stuff.
Let's do this. First blood is yours.
Getting, I don't know, people talking shit about him disowning his son, shit like that. Like, yeah.
Come on, let's break this up.
So like, there was a very lot of people being really trying to make it more controversial than it is. Like they're like, oh, my son got arrested or caught marijuana or something like that.
I know I'm good.
People are all mad about it. Hold on now. Well, people are getting mad at him about it, but it's like y'all don't realize he was heavily involved with the Chinese government. Like
Let's
you
do
know,
this.
China lived in it, so like culture is different there, right? People don't think about that. Like, it's close ties to the Communist Party of China. It's like, exactly, and that's why. It's like people forget that he's not. People forget that he's not from.
Exactly.
Come on, let's kick some ass. Trying to be a tough guy.
Yeah, it's Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, broken foot. And so they made the cast look like a fucking sneaker. So they can hide it. Yeah. I was like, yo, wow. Yeah, I never noticed that shit. They kind of hide it in the shot, so you can't really notice the foot. I think that's really smart.
Strike at that side.
Dude.
Let's go. Looks like that hurt.
Yeah.
Steady there. Sweet. I know I'm good. I feel stronger than before.
They did the touch back to the third too, so you go back and
So, like, the thing with Bruce is, and I mean, part of me doesn't believe the autopsy report. I really believe he was killed. But, when they talk about the autopsy, basically it's like, we have like a brain hemorrhage or something from the meds he was taking for like headaches and it's like, man, that shit sound off, man. This guy with like incredible fucking condition, great health, all this other shit. I just
So big.
I don't know.
But I mean, something. Sound a little bouncy to the fuck, man.
Yeah, so it just sounds off, but I mean, you know, things can happen. You know, it's not unheard of. You know, your body reaction and the kind of way that stuff. Especially meds, take some shit, and yeah, you have an adverse reaction. It's not unheard of, you know what I'm saying?
That one looks
With who? I'll be listening to you more. I mean, I was good.
I know I'm good.
Alright.
Come on out.
Cool.
Okay, later.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Come on out.
They're definitely just around.
Okay, later.
Oh, that's just like what was that with Usher, with the hairdresser. It just be convenient. That's all it be with these dudes.
I guess I ever do that.
Nah, these women just be around, and it's just convenient. And
They'll be on, then they just want to go ahead.
yeah, and then they don't be thinking about shit, you know.
They'll be thinking about shit.
No. And hey, look. I'm not gonna sit here and try to act like I'm holier now and all of this shit. Don't be, you know. So I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, nigga, why? And I'm like, I probably end up slipping up the same kind of way. I don't have these condoms at all. Gotta take care of the baby. I mean, when you got money like that, you can. The problem is the scandal, possible scandal to your, the blow to your reputation. Yeah. Back in the day, you got them uncles, grandparents, and shit, dudes be messing around. You wouldn't even hear about their other kids. Yeah, be sitting there telling that woman now. Don't you do something like telling people about this shit. This shit is true.
I feel
Nowadays,
stronger than before. What are
nowadays,
you looking at?
wow, it's really a celebrity thing. these women be messing around with these guys, and then they leak that shit out there. I mean, just, like the great thing. You're like, yeah, my grandpa was he got around. But like with the Drake thing, I mean, he was gonna tell people he had that kid, but he was gonna make it like a whole big thing.
Say she ran them out.
No, but well, she probably might have said something, but you know, his beef with Pusha T. Pusha talked about it on that damn song. that kind of fucked up his whole reputation for a little bit. People were like, "Hold up, you're dead, you dad?" Yeah.
Damn. Damn.
That makes me look bad for a little bit.
Some shit like that. Somebody never did like that. They say Trey Songz.
I feel stronger than before.
I wouldn't doubt it. That nigga got a fucking
Instagram model. It's like they just Instagram model.
that nigga got a woman that was
Let's do this.
press charges against him not too long ago. Right after a little bit, I'd say like a couple months after R. Kelly got charged.
Yeah.
And actually finally went to jail. Trey Songz was getting a rape charge. I don't know if he was in court, but I remember hearing about it. And the guy was like,
Come on.
you know, these niggas is just out here being sex pests. Motherfuckers just sex pests out here. What's the problem with these things, man?
That girl.
Strike at that side. Yeah, everybody's getting hyped. Sweet. I know I'm good. I feel stronger than before.
Wow. And that book she wrote, exposing all kinds of dudes. That shit was wild. She exposed so many guys in the industry. Like, I just slept with all these guys. Let me tell you, just telling all their business up. Like, yo, she putting dudes on blast out here, telling people how much money these dudes are spending on her and all this other stuff. I was dying laughing. Yep. And that's the thing I'm like, you don't think about, like, when your kids get older, and all this stuff is publicized. Like, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not worried about nobody body count. But like, when all that information gets published, it's a different deal. You know, that shit can affect you. Like, exactly. Yeah, that should affect you later on in life. Like, yep.
This is our big chance.
Mental. Like, bro. Mess around with this one, this your baby mama, this your baby mama. It's like that. Unless she gets out there and she gets into the thing. I'm just talking about like regular. I'm not talking about celebrities. Like, when like a regular motherfucker business be out there like that. It's like, bro, that's not like some cool shit. You know, all these people. It's like,
don't want about it.
yeah. It's like when I see dudes, man, and they deal with my friends and shit, and it's just like out there.
Let's do this.
Like the villains get out there and they get upset. Like, oh man, this bitch just said all this and that. Like, bro, you just out here fucking everybody. I mean, the fuck you expect?
I was good, like y'all just sat there and think with that, like good out. Y'all like
Come on, let's kick some ass.
The business is all out there to the what's taking the foot, bro.
they say what? That's the
Nice.
Oh, shit, I was like, it happened. I know it's different. I just seen a picture today, kind of in the lab that had a little quote, and it was a picture of Ice Spice with Pete
This
Davidson.
is our big chance.
I laughed my ass. I was like, look at this movie, bro. Alright.
Sweet.
Little by
little, I'm becoming stronger now.
Birthday wishes.
We'll have to see, but you've been warned ahead of time. Up first, we have, well, not really a Bankai right out of the gate, but a transformed one all the same. Thanks to Isuke's intervention, a seriously injured Hitsugaya is able to restore his stolen Bankai. It's not quite what it once was. Having ingested Hollow Reiatsu in order to poison Kangdu and retrieve his Bankai once more, Hitsugaya has momentarily become hollowified, and it's affected his Bankai Daiguren Hyorimaru as well. Seen in episode 16 of the Fundamental Virulence, the hollowified Daiguren Hyorimaru gives Hitsugaya a hollow mask over his eye and large dragon-like horns of ice protruding from the side of his head. He also gains that full modulated voice in the anime akin to that of the Visage, which was a really nice touch. Although the changes are minimal overall, Hitsugaya's Bankai becoming hollowified was an awesome twist, and he quickly dispatches the Kangdu, instantly freezing him inside a massive box of ice, before the Kangdu himself collapses to the ground in exhaustion. Strangely, despite
Little by little, I'm becoming stronger.
the same episode, Suifon and her Jakuho Aiko men don't undergo any cosmetic changes. Then the first big Bankai surprise of the core was the reveal of the coasts of Nishima, Yokoshima, and Fusegari, which
Impressive,
occurred
huh?
in the same episode, though its appearance was spoiled in a couple of trailers for Core 2. How crazy it would be if you hadn't known it was coming at all. Anyway, this isn't technically a new Bankai, but it is a weird one. Shinji's Bankai was only previously revealed in the light novel Consphere of the World before making its way to supplementary material.
I'll
like
follow
the
whatever
Bankai
orders you give me.
Brave Souls. In terms of actual artwork representing the
What are you
Bankai,
looking at?
we had only a couple of sketches from Kubo himself, and of course, what we then later got in the game.
Am I
which
doing
was
my
our
father
best
proud?
look at it in action to date. However, after
Checking my
he
stats,
distributes
huh?
the Shineyaki Hill to all officers, Shinji sees fit to activate his Bankai Blast for the very first time in the 1,000-year blood. As I mentioned in the episode review, I'm not sure why Shinji felt he couldn't use Bankai before Hollowfire, considering he's already part Hollow, but there you go. Surrounded by Soldats who apparently just finished massacring a battalion of Shinigami, Shinji laments their deaths, while admitting he does have certain abilities that are best used in the surround. As he then activates Bankai, Shinji is surrounded by the petals of a large golden flower, which then implodes around him. He disappears inside the bud. The surrounding Soldat are then all affected by the Bankai's special ability, and they turn on each other, butchering their own comrades in a frenzy of blood. Shinji's Bankai reversed his allegiances, turning friend into foe. As he himself notes in Can't Fit Your Own World, his Shikai is better for the big bosses, while his Bankai is more suited to taking on minions. Even that is backwards. It's interesting, as I thought Shinji was banned using his Bankai in Seirete, but perhaps since it's been transformed by the Vandenreich, all bets are coming off. As the golden flower blooms once more, freeing Shinji, he cuts down the final soldat with his newly inverted Zanpakuto. The ring of Sakanade is now the tip of the blade instead of the hilt. I have to say, I love finally being able to see this Bankai in action, even if it does feel a little random that he used it against several soldat that he presumably could have defeated anyway. In the following episode, episode 17, part of Wolf, we're treated to another upgraded Bankai. Revealing the fruits of the humanization technique, Komamura activates his newly transformed Bankai, Kokujo Tengen Myo Dangai Joy, and the armor of his gigantic warrior cracks and shatters a million pieces, revealing the eerie, corpse-like being within. Obviously, we've seen Kokujo Tengen Myo plenty of times before as the armored swordsman mimics Komamura's own movements, but here in 2000 Blood War Arc, Komamura's Bankai has evolved in line with Shinigami. Komamura removed his heart.
We shall stop them here!
It's now just a lifeless, empty shell given only
Smash him from the side!
The same now goes for his Bankai, which is now evolved as well. Dangai Joy's
becoming stronger.
Goes in the flame as he attacks Bambietta, and we quickly see that the monstrosity is immune to all of her abilities. Even as Bambietta uses her bombs to destroy Dangai Joy's hand, it simply reforms before her eyes. Komamura reveals that as long as he is in this form, he cannot die. And the same goes for his new Bankai as well. With this new power, Komamura and his Bankai completely overwhelm the Sternritter, defeating her in a matter of minutes. Which makes sense, as Komamura originally intended for this form to take down Yuhavaki himself. As Komamura reverts back into a mindless beast of rage, Kokujo Tengen Myo Dangai Joy disintegrates behind him. The next episode, episode 18, Rages at Ringside, is a big one for the Bankai. The first one out of this is Kensei's Tengen Tachikaze, but again, this is a weird one. Tengen Tachikaze is neither a new nor upgraded Bankai. In fact, the first time we saw it,
Sweet! Son of a... I need the other one!
Who wants to be my guinea pig?
entirely off screen, meaning we had no idea for years what Kensei's Bankai actually did. Fast forward though to the 1000-year Blood War arc, and here in 4.2 we finally get to see Tengen Tachikaze fully in action and learn how it works. Upon activating the Bankai, Kensei's arms are wrapped in a metal ribbon that arches over his back, connecting to two short knuckle blades, one in either hand. Blades are capable of transforming into spiked gloves, which Kensei uses to condense his Zanpakuto's explosive power. Kensei's punches then make contact with an enemy. They're hit by that explosive burst, and for as long as Kensei's fist continues to touch his opponent's body, they'll be constantly battered by those explosive bursts over and over again, such as when Kensei slams his fist into Master Damascus, causing the stones to
We shall stop them here!
with pulsing and Kensei is also capable of transforming his spiked gloves further, elongating the knuckle thrusters themselves and presumably your own power as much as in the 1000-year ally Kensei also uses advantage to hold the line, whereas the source of fists continue Continuing on with episode 18, we have a brand new Spartanite now in Bloodmore, roasts the Indian Coda. Accidentally Spartanite roasts by
This is our big chance!
twirling, unraveling as it transforms into several rows of queenly dancers, faceless and featureless, save for the flower of King Shara itself. The remainder of the video is two enormous slugs in the sky above rows, one of which now leads the conductor's top. Meanwhile, Rose himself now also
I need the other one! The other one!
in order to enable him to command the dance troupe. Rose is able to command his dancers to perform different routines, which then create illusions to affect the enemy. Against Mask the Masculine, Rose's dancers perform their first dance, Sea Drift, where they encircle Mask and begin to spin rapidly, creating the illusion of a crushing whirlpool of water which closes in around the stern ritter, trapping him. The second dance is Prometheus, and at Rose's beck and call, the dancers incinerate Mars with fire, engulfing him in a column of roaring flame. Although Mask is shocked to see a Zanpakuto that controls multiple elements, Rose's Barclay is intriguing. Instead, Rose actually controls music, and his Barclay plays a melody that ensnares the
Please,
senses
Mr. Matt.
of opponents, tricking them to believe
Thank
what they're seeing and experiencing is very real. As soon as Rose's opponent believes the performance that they're witnessing, they're being affected by it. For example, Mask ends up believing he's being struck by green fire, so his arm is then pierced in reality. Rose is about to use one final dance named Ein Helden Leben, or a hero's life, but he's stopped before he can do so by Mask learning the tables and discovering While we don't know the details behind this villain per se, I speculate his bespoke power for use against Mask itself is based on the name.
Little by
Rose
little,
entering his
I'm becoming stronger.
to stop you red earlier in the fight, I kind of imagine that is what he's about to do. The final Barclay reveal of episode 18 is technically an upgraded Barclay, but also kind of a brand new one as well. Of course, I'm talking about Renji's ChiLL, the true name of his Barclay and final launch. So it turns out, as Renji discovered during his training at the Royal Palace, that Zabimaru had been hiding the true name of his Barclay from Renji for all these years. We know Renji's Bankai to be Hihio Zabimaru for the best part of the entire story. This is a half-truth of fabrication. As such, Renji has barely been utilising a fraction of his Zanpakuto's true power, and thanks to Ichibe's tutelage, Renji is able to force Zabimaru to acknowledge him as the warrior he is, enabling him to speak his Bankai's true name at last. I'm not really sure why Zabimaru shortchanges Renji like this when they fought together like brothers for so long, and frankly I think Renji has more than proved himself, but there you go. At least now Zabimaru believes him to be worthy, and that's why it's hard to choose whether this is an upgraded Bankai or just a totally new one. After all, it doesn't really resemble Renji's original Bankai in any shape or form, and certainly lacks the power. But as Renji debates his true God is the gigantic bone snake we know. In its place is a much smaller entity. Renji Bankai now takes on this magical. On the one hand, Renji wields a huge blade that's capable of being transformed, the guard which resembles the skeletal head and fiery red mane of his previous Bankai. On the other hand, a massive, floating, green ape's arm that wields inhuman physical strength rests on Renji's shoulder, and adorned with his back and collar, some black plated arm, and a skeletal tail resembling a snake runs down Renji's back. With his true Bankai, Renji overpowers Mask almost immediately with his serpent arm in the grip of his ape clown, that obliterates his body. Flaming snakes form, ensure down, wincing in his fur and using his body's flash. Moving swiftly on to episode 19, White Days and a long last, Rukia reveals the much anticipated and well-deserved Bankai.
Little by little,
His bark
I'm
tightens
becoming
and
stronger.
Tokay turns her hair a snowdrop white, and her eyes become a beautiful amethyst as the entire surrounding area is swallowed up by an Arctic tundra, an all-consuming tempest of ice and snow barreling across the land.
I didn't like how that looked. Sir. How that looked on stream. Change that. Oh, no, that's not blurred part. Let's see. So 8-ball doesn't work. Let's see. Football. Okay.
Hotel, of course, the garden by itself has now become a glassy, transparent blade of pure ice. The same can be said for Rukia herself. The Shinigami will become dangerous right now as her entire body becomes like that of a fragile porcelain, stunning to behold, but brittle and weak. Now garbed in a flowing, frosty, regal gown glittering crystalline blue, Rukia evokes the feeling of an icy queen, a shimmering crown-like headpiece of icicles sitting atop her white hair. The ribbons of Sode no Shirayuki now flutter and Rukia's back
Oh.
Hit him hard, hit him fast!
Areas monitoring fracture, sending a conspicuous fragment running
We
round
shall
her.
stop them here!
Rukia's heart
Here it
is
comes!
a chair.
Oh,
one of the highlights of the entire core team. We nailed the overall field of transformation.
Tis just a whisper.
The total piece of Remnant 2, the Barclay's activation utterly washing over as not have time to play, freezing the skeleton down to the moment. The apples going scrupulous slowly towards
I need the other one. The other one.
This Barclay was a long time coming, and the 1,000-Year Blood War Arc Part 2 absolutely got it right. We now get another new Barclay revealed until the very end of Part 2, but it is a very special one. In episode 26, Black, the finale of the core, the Zero Division seemed to be backed into a corner by the resurrected Schutzwaffen. However, Metsu, Tenjiro, and Hikifune suddenly killed themselves, freeing the remaining members of Zero Senjumaru from the shackles of the blood-owned seal, allowing her to utilize her full power. Senjumaru then activates the Barkai Shatatsu Karagara Shigarami no Suki, her true power with the foundations of three worlds to shudder under its might. Senjumaru's Barkai is totally new, not just the 1,000-Year Blood War Arc itself, but even the original story. This is the first anime-only Barkai we've seen in the 1,000-Year Blood War Arc to date. This rapid shooting Barkai, and I'm hoping there's going to be always a difference in the future. As Senjumaru activates the Barkai, the surrounding area darkens. Instead,
I know I'm good. I feel stronger than before.
Rises behind the Shinigami against. As the loom is put together, Senjumaru's targets are entombed within a walled prison of beautiful red fabric before patterns tapestries rain down from the sky. Senjumaru then isolates each of her opponents, turning their own destined fates against them as she weaves them into their own inescapable seals. Each of the Stern Ritter is defeated by a method that seems to fall into some aspect of their predetermined futures as we know them to play out the story. For example, Leobarrow is sealed here thanks to the reflection of his powers in the same manner as his in the future, which is actually kind of an interesting concept when you think about it, in that this Barclay is made purely for those of us who have read the source material. If you're an anime fan, you can assume that this Barclay seems to be ridiculously powerful. These stories of the world seemingly bad names. What it means to the suspect of Carbox in the dark fronts, Senjumaru then proudly displays them all. Their silhouettes visibly entrapped in their own tapestries, their fates having been used against them. It's a very interesting Barclay, to say the least. If it really is called upon their destinies to defeat them in the here and now, does that mean the Barclay sees the future?
I know I'm good.
And if the servants are sealed here forever, then does that mean the Barclay has now changed their fate, even though it has used it against them? Regardless, this is also extraordinarily powerful Barclay, fitting for a member of the Zero Division, and it is so great to see. The final new Barclay of the 1,000-Year Blood War Arc Anime Part 2 is also found in episode 26 and belongs to the leader of the Zero Division himself, Ichibei Yosobe. Though Ichibei is so ancient that he doesn't even call it Barclay, initially using instead the original name for the term, Shinuchi, the first ever evolved son. Ichibei's Barclay is Shirofune Ichimonji, and upon activation, the large ring of white circles the air above the Shinigami while Zarpat's blade returns to being a brush akin to its sealed state, a white ink constantly flowing from the bristles, creating a stunning trail-like effect as he begins to beat with it. Shirofune Ichimonji is a unique Barclay for a number of reasons, but it's unique in that it is to be used in conjunction with Ichibei's Shikai first. Once Ichibei has used his Shikai Ichimonji to plot out his target's name with his power over black, Ichibei can then use his Barclay to rewrite that now nameless target a brand new name instead. For example, against Yukaba, Ichibei covers the Quincy King completely in darkness, robbing him of his name and all of his strength. And then, in a spiteful humiliation, Ichibei paints him Yuhawa a new name with his Bankai, writing the character Ari Blackmanta upon Yuhawa's body. In doing so, Ichibei makes Yuhawa as well as an all his life now fragile and fleeting. I do wonder, does Ichibei's Bankai have to be used as the next step after Ichimonji? Could Ichibei use Shirafude Ichimonji on an enemy that hasn't lost its name and overuse their name instead? That would also be insanely powerful, but to be honest, for a character like Ichibei, I could imagine that he could possibly do something like that. But that's every new and upgraded Bankai revealed in War 2 of the 1,000-Year Blood War anime. As you can see, it was a great 13 episodes for Bankai. We got to see so many new ones for the first time, including, excitingly, an anime-only Bankai reveal as well. Which of these Bankai is your absolute favourite, and who is a still unknown Bankai do you want to see more? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. As for me, I'd love to see all of them, but the one I think would potentially have the best chance is maybe somebody like Ukizake, but regardless, I would just be very happy with any Bankai, and to be honest, I kind of can't believe we've already got one. But that's it for the video, guys. Again, I really do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments again down below which was your favourite Bankai we saw in the 1,000-Year Blood War Arc Part 2. Were you happy with how they were all presented? Do please let me know. Make sure to hit subscribe if you've done already. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll catch you later. And I'll see you then.
How do I still not have a map? Well, that is frustrating. Oh, it's really frustrating. I don't have a map in this first section. Like, I swear I've explored this bullshit, bro.
Let's do this! Forward! Show no mercy! Not too shabby!
Curious doesn't even begin to explain the spectrum of emotions I'm coping with. Angry, confused, happy, and excited, all at once. They don't like the way that it's making me feel. I have the energy and emotion of a soldier cranes up on soldier about to storm somebody else's front lines and control. I am scared, I am energized, and I am excited for the future.
There's still plenty of power left in these old bones.
I don't much marvelous, but now that you move, your bar was 5 minutes away. Nice. And you're probably wondering, why are you feeling nervous? Why are you angry and fearful? Well, the leaks of Chapter 236 came out for JJ, as well I usually do manga reviews because we only have 2 episodes a week on this channel, and in order to start doing manga reviews, I would have to choose 2 manga to keep up with. This entire page would be dedicated to them. JJK is currently the biggest manga, the biggest anime on Earth, because the anime is in the Shibuya incident, the manga is in the worst incident, the Shinjuku incident, I guess. A couple of weeks ago, when Chapter 235 came out, released the video Gojo vs. Sukuna Explained. So it appeared as though the battle between Gojo and Sukuna was over. Gojo released a non-directed verbal that blew the entirety of Shinjuku and this was some first energy and affected him less than it affected Sukuna. It was stated that Mamoraga was defeated. Sukuna had no reverse curse technique. His brain was still recovering from all the domain expansions he had pulled off from the person.
I need the other one! The other one!
And this is your one and only warning that we're going to be talking about Chapter 236 of JJK today. And therefore, if you haven't read the chapter, it's going to get spoiled. Too angry to not spoil. So either pause the video and go catch up with JJK. Just buckle in. But boy, oh boy, was I and everybody else on Earth talking about the result of that battle. Mostly because Tommy was like, look, Joe is the winner. He's the strongest throughout all of history. And I and every other manga reader was like, yeah. But something could go wrong here, as it was not like Sukuna was a pile of bitches. He was in a less advantageous situation than Gojo, but he wasn't dead. So even in the video where I explained the battle between Gojo and Sukuna, which I presumed to be over, stated there's a fair amount of possibility that Sukuna or Kenjaku do something that changes the results of this battle. Boy, oh boy, did they. Chapter 236 has been one of the most polarizing chapters of manga possibly ever released. In fact, this chapter is so polarizing that many have just decided to drop JJK. Quite honestly, I can't blame them because this... It's not so much fun to read anymore. It's so much fun to read in a while because Tommy is the history of men. And that meanness might actually backfire. As like I said, Chapter 236 has convinced many people that it's time to get off the train, but it's also convinced many people that JJK is spiraling its way towards being greatest manga of all time. It's full of polarization we're talking about today. But how on earth could a manga chapter not only convince some people to stop reading the manga, but also convince others that this manga might be the greatest manga of all time, you ask? Well, today, answering that question, because today we're talking all things Chapter 236. Before we get to talking about anything nice, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that note there. And if you want to hear me scream about all things in anime that make me upset, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Dr. Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything happening in anime. This week, it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you just want to look like somebody who will willingly scream their anime takes at somebody else, guys, go ahead and head over to my brand new anime merch store, DrAnonymous.net, where you can pick up some of the best anime merch to man. So, Chapter 236. Was it as traumatizing for you as it was for me? The answer is probably yes, because you're sitting here watching this video right now. But even though Chapter 236 seems like somewhat of a cut and dry chapter, all puns intended, as the majority of Chapter 236 revolved around one very important event that we'll talk about in a second here, there's actually a lot more going on to this chapter than just that one major event. The fanbase is split somewhere between hopium and theorizing about the future of some of the most important characters in JJK is going to look like. Now, the one thing that Chapter 236 revolves around is Gojo's presumed death. And the reason that I say presumed is because Gojo's death is what's causing the fan base to split between theorizers to those taking a couple hits of hopium. So what is going on in this chapter? Is there any hints throughout this chapter that point to those theorizing that Gojo is still alive are correct, or those gripping with a harsh reality that Gojo is dead are correct? Well, before we get into the results of this chapter, we want to go over what happened so we can make our most informed opinions. And before we even cover what happened in the chapter, I want to give a little context here. The Shingeki Tommy is known as one of the most brutal mangaka in the modern era. An author who not only doesn't seem to care how much his fans love a character, but appears to be actively trying to kill off fan base's favorite characters. If at any point throughout the story, one of his characters has been thirsted after by anybody, that character is killed. Whether that happened in the Shibuya incident, the Cullen game, or now in the battle in Shinjuku, if there's a character that's widely beloved by the fan base of JJK, then he will die. We've kind of been warned of this for a long time. Shingeki Tommy, the mangaka of JJK, said in an interview a couple of years ago that either one dies or they all die, referring to the fact that either Sukuna dies or everybody else dies. So for a long time, we've known that a lot of people are gonna die in JJK, and that prophecy has been fulfilled multiple times, and may have been fulfilled once again in chapter 236. And now that we have the context for the kind of mangaka that Gegyo Katana is, let's talk about what happens in chapter 236. See, the chapter opens with Gojo awakening from a seat, and Gojo, upon awakening from the seat, realizes that he's sitting next to his best friend and ex-lover, Geto. Not Kenjaku's version of Geto, just straight up Geto, no stitches in the forehead. Gojo then proceeds to say, "This sucks," and Geto says that's a rude thing to say when seeing somebody's face for the first time in a long time. Gojo then says something real interesting. He says that I told my students that you should die alone. To which Geto responds that either is fine. Either you can die alone or with others. It doesn't really matter. But Gojo rebuttals and says the first thing that started people theorizing throughout this chapter. Gojo responds and says, no, it's not. Even my father, ... As Gojo cuts himself off mid-sentence here, and then switches thoughts to saying, oh well, I left Shoko to that anyways. Now Geto pretty immediately changes the subject by asking, how was the King of Curses? That is to say, Geto was asking Gojo, how was his battle against Sukuna? However, Gojo bringing up his father and then cutting himself off mid-sentence has a lot of people scratching their heads, because we've never met Gojo's father. In fact, he's never even been introduced. The only people that we've met that are actually related to Gojo are Yuta, who's a distant relative, and Michizane Sugawara, who we've actually never met, but is a vengeful spirit that's introduced in Chapter 0. And Michizane Sugawara is a far distant ancestor to Gojo. We've never met Gojo's mom or dad, though it stands to reason that obviously they were from the Gojo clan. So why is Gojo bringing up a character in this conversation with Geto that we have yet to be introduced to? Who is Gojo's father, and what does he have to do with Shoko? Shoko, for those of you who don't remember, was the no-bro group for Gojo and Geto. That is to say, when Gojo and Geto were high school students at JJK High, Shoko was in the same year as them. What made Shoko incredibly powerful at an early age is that she had cracked the code on reverse curse technique. However, she was terrible at explaining how to do it, and therefore she couldn't teach Geto or Gojo how to do it. Shoko now works at JJK High. She was the person who brought Yuji back to life. She's the dead-eyed woman who's always working down in the morgue and smoking cigarettes. Pretty much the only reason that Shoko was ever introduced to the story throughout JJK is to use her reverse curse technique, because among Jujutsu sorcerers, she is the best at reverse curse technique outside of, like, Gojo, obviously. So why would Gojo bring up his father and then say, oh, whatever, I've left my father to Shoko? Now, my current theory on the sentence is that Gojo was gonna say, no, it's not, even my father died alone, or something along those lines, which based on the context of the conversation would make sense. However, if Gojo were to say, no, it's not fine to die alone, even my father died alone, why would he say, I left that to Shoko? Now, it's a possibility that Gojo was gonna say, no, it's not, even my father is still alive, and maybe Gojo told Shoko to take care of his father, who would be elderly-ish by now. But that is a weird thing to bring up in the context of this conversation, and to not finish as a thought. So people have begun to theorize that Shoko and possibly Gojo's father will play into the revival of Gojo. Somehow it's the future of JJK's mom. And honestly, I'm right there with them, because Katami does nothing not intentional. And him bringing up Gojo's father is a member of the Gojo clan and is therefore probably pretty powerful. And also Shoko, who's the forefront of reverse curse technique, all in the same sentence without actually paying off what he was talking about, makes me highly suspicious. But whatever, the conversation switches to Sukuna, the King of Curses. And in response to Geto asking how was the King of Curses, Gojo says that he was really powerful. However, Gojo also states that he wasn't able to use up all of his power, which is interesting, because as of chapter 235, it was stated that Sukuna was out of power. His new way abomination that was a combination of several different shadows. The 10 Shadows technique was destroyed by Gojo. Maharaku was destroyed by the non-named Hollow Bolt. Sukuna is no longer able to open his domain expansion because his brain was scrambled by unlimited void, and his reverse curse technique is slowed to pretty much a halt. Pretty much the only thing that we didn't see from Sukuna was his fire curse technique. The curse technique that he used while he was still in Yuji's body to take out Maharaku. But outside of that, it feels as though we saw everything from Sukuna that we thought we were going to see. But Gojo believes that Sukuna still has strength left, which based off the context of the end of this chapter, makes sense. Now it's at this point that Gojo begins to get real introspective. Gojo states that he's not entirely sure if he would have been able to beat Sukuna even if he didn't mega these 10 shadows, which is just not true. Gojo would have absolutely violated Sukuna without these 10 shadows. It's literally all Sukuna used throughout their battle. To which Geto responds, I can't believe you're telling me this much, I'm starting to feel sorry for you. At this point, Gojo gets even more introspective, saying that the loneliness of being the strongest person alive is something that I believe that you and only you would be able to sympathize with, Geto. And he then goes on to say, well, he never felt alone, and he felt loved by all of the people around him. As he was hailed as the strongest on Earth, he began to feel less like a human and more just like a living being now, comparing himself to a flower. And now you can look at a flower and acknowledge that that flower is alive, but you never think that flower is thinking, oh, I wish humans understood me. And Gojo felt as though he was that flower, an entity that people identified was alive, but didn't really think of as a human or something with thoughts. Just an entity of unlimited power, standing on top of the world. Gojo then goes on to say that he spent his entire life honing all of his techniques to a perfect level. That lifetime of experience in Sukuna. And Gojo wanted to be able to use the heightened abilities in a battle against Sukuna, and have Sukuna receive those abilities, translate it, and return them back to him. Essentially, Gojo was saying that he wanted to battle against somebody who would be able to battle him at the highest level, and that because he achieved that, he had a good time. But then he goes on to say that Sukuna wasn't able to throw everything he had. And for that, I'm sorry. Once again, it's interesting because we saw pretty much 90% of Sukuna's techniques thrown at Gojo. And the only thing that we didn't see him use was his fire arrow. This leads me and a lot of moderators to believe that Sukuna has more techniques that we don't even see yet. And those techniques will be unleashed in the upcoming chapters. Geto then responds by saying, I'm getting jealous, but I'm free. And then Gojo says something really cute. He says, happiness. I would have been happy if you were amongst the people who were patting me on the back. It was her to an image of Geto being amongst the people who Gojo considered closest to. And at this point, then it's revealed that Geto isn't the only person there with Gojo. As Gojo states, ways what killed me wasn't time or illness, but somebody stronger than me. I'm glad. And as he says this, it pans out to show that Gojo and Geto are sitting alone. But them are Nanami and Hyper. Now, before we talk about the fact that Nanami and Hyper are there, I think we kind of have to focus on the fact that Gojo in this line says, the thing that killed me was somebody stronger than before. Day is whether or not somebody is actually stronger than Gojo, or whether or not he was using Maharage as a punch. What's important here is that Gojo says, what killed me? Gojo in this moment is acknowledging the fact that he is dead. I want you to hold on to that thought for a second, because I want to talk about the fact that Nanami and Hyper are there. Now, obviously, Geto is dead. Geto died in Gojo's hands. Now, Hyper is a year younger than Gojo, Geto, Nanami, and Shoko dies off-screen in the hidden inventory premature death arc. And Hypera's death is one of the most important things that pushes Geto over the edge to become evil. As Geto sees Hypera's death as a symbolization that Jujutsu sorcerers will always end up dying for the witnesses and will never be acknowledged. So Hypera is also dead. Nanami is also very dead. Is there as Nanami dies in the Shibuya incident by the hands of Monita. Anime only watchers, you're gonna be getting there real soon. But the reason that Nanami and Hypera are revealed in the first place is because Nanami says, oh, somebody stronger than you, which military leader was that? And then Nanami says, that's why you're able to live longer than me, which Hypera chimes in and says, by a margin of an error. Because Nanami only dies like 12 days prior to Gojo. This Shibuya incident, and then this battle in Shinjuku was like less than a month, I think. Now, Hypera, Nanami, Geto, and Gojo then just chatting like friends for a couple of pages. Hypera chimes in and says to Gojo that you were never exercising curses to save humanity, but instead using Jujutsu sorcery as a way to get off. Essentially calling him a pervert who was using his power for his own sexual gain. Nanami tells Hypera to shut up and said that he's pissing him off, but agrees with him to a small degree and says that Gojo went out and Gojo explained. How did you go? Nanami responds, kind of a loaded story, a sweet one nonetheless, where he says, May told me once that if I wanted to move, if I wanted to become a new version of myself, I should move to a country, Japan. And without a moment of hesitancy, Nanami chose to move a country south of Japan. That's why he fantasized about moving to Malaysia. So Nanami, who lived his entire life trying to remain the same or acquire an old version of himself, instead in his final moments, a backwards-looking person like myself, bet on the future. Now, this is obviously a reference to Nanami's last moments with Yuji. If Nanami put himself in a battle against Mahito, then he knew he wouldn't be able to win, but took the wing because he was betting on Yuji being the savior that the world needed. So in that moment, somebody committed his entire life to remaining his old self, bet on the future. And he says that it wasn't a bad ending. To this point, that Gojo then screams at Masamichi Yaga, also known as Tokyo's JJK High Principal. He's also dead, as he was killed by Yoshinobu, the principal of Kyoto High. He was killed after Gojo was sealed to the prison realm, and genuinely, I don't remember why. I think it had something to do with, like, Gojo not being around to protect him, but I also think it had something to do with the fact that Kyoto High wanted Yuji dead. Maybe Masamichi was defending Yuji, or they thought he was culpable for what happened to Yuji. Straight up, Gojo screams at Principal Masamichi
Masamichi and says, "Hey, Principal, I thought deaths amongst Jujutsu sorcerers couldn't happen without regrets." As Masamichi told Gojo when he was younger that whenever a Jujutsu sorcerer dies, they are riddled with regrets. Yet every single one of these Jujutsu sorcerers sitting around, that being Ibara, Nanami, Geto, and Gojo, all in their high school forms and uniforms, are not only returned to the forms where they last spent time with each other, but are also all smiling, implying that now they all can be back together. Not only do they not have regrets, but they're actually not alone. This is revealed that Riko, as in Riko Amanai, the silver class vessel, and Kuroi are also there with them and also smiling. And in this moment, all the people that we've seen killed throughout the history of JJK are coming together in a moment of no regret, coexisting in a time that's simpler when they can all be together without the context of the world possibly ending. And at this point, what Gojo says is kind of up in the air. Because, mind you, we're dealing with fan translations here, but the fan translation that I'm reading says, "I'm gonna pray that this isn't my pipe dream." And in this moment, I believe that Gojo is saying that I hope I get to live in this existence forever. An existence where Geto and Haibara and Nanami and all of them are young again, and Riko and Kuroi are all alive and together. Gojo wants nothing more than to be returned to the time prior to Riko's death. A time when his best friend and him were mortal foes. A time prior to Haibara's death. A time when things were simpler, when he was the strongest, but he had people around him who knew he was a human. However, other fan translations of this moment state that Gojo says goodbye to everybody. But with my rough knowledge of Japanese, the way that I read it is it saying that I hope this isn't a delusion of me. So it's very similar to the fan translation that I read. But in hypothetically, Gojo is saying goodbye to everybody he's currently existing in this kind of limbo existence with. It's made a lot of people speculate that Gojo is saying goodbye to the dead people. That is to say that Gojo took a step into the realm of the dead and then realized that he couldn't be with them forever because he was still alive, and was therefore saying goodbye to everybody he saw for the first time in a while, like Riko, Kuroi, Haibara, and Geto. And therefore people believe that this is Gojo actually saying goodbye to the afterworld and coming back to life.
Come on.
Unfortunately, this is a couple of hits of Copia, because pretty much any way you read this panel, this is Gojo saying, I hope we get to stay here. I hope what I'm experiencing is real. And if anything, it's Gojo bidding farewell to anybody living. Gojo's never like, okay, yeah, good seeing you guys. I have to go back to the world of living. He's just like, wow, I hope I get to stay here. That is Gojo's happiest moment. Right before all of them loaded onto a plane to go to Okinawa to spend a day at the Riko. That's the last happy scene that we get, because the next scene that we get is quite literally a high-suited Gojo. All that we see is that Gojo has been cut from the rib cage down, and we see Gojo on the ground with his eyes open and blood coming out of his mouth. In this scene, it's presumed that he's dead. Now, this scene is brutal. See, the real reason that people are really upset with this scene isn't even the fact that Gojo died. It's the fact that Gojo died off screen. This is the number one most popular character in all of JJK. Every single time they do a popularity poll, this character is so popular that Gege Utami had to shut him away for almost 2 years in the manga, because Gege Utami wanted to use that as an opportunity to have other characters in the manga shine. A character that Gege Utami has been very vocal about how much he hates, but a character that every reader of JJK adores. This would be like killing Minato or Itachi or Kakashi off Naruto off screen. And that is either the dumbest thing or the ballsiest thing an author can do. Because I'm telling you right now, people will stop reading JJK because of this. Not only was Gojo the most popular character in the entire manga killed, but he was killed off disrespectfully. His death was gruesome. It was unbecoming of a man who was able to accomplish anything. The honored one. But at the same time, there has never been more fuel for the fire of hatred that burns towards Sukuna. See, we as a community don't like Sukuna. He's a fraud. He, just like Kenjaku, has to use other people's powers to supplement for the lack of his own. However, if Gojo had killed Sukuna, we wouldn't have as much hatred for Sukuna as possible. But now that Sukuna has not only off-screen killed, but also disrespectfully killed Gojo, the fire of hatred towards him is like nothing I've ever seen. He is one of, if not the most detested characters in manga comics. And while plenty of people will drop JJK because of this chapter, those who continue reading JJK will read it with more fervor and anger than ever before. Genuinely, the best comparison I've seen to this moment is the Red Wedding, a moment when a widely beloved, if not the most popular character in an entire show is killed off brutally. For those who don't remember, watching the character who killed off Robb Stark die was one of the most satisfying things in television history. Same could be said for Joffrey from Game of Thrones, a widely detested and hated character because of the terrible things he did to beloved characters in the universe. When I was 16 years old, watching Joffrey choke in a space go purple, I held my laptop and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Die! Die!" And you better goddamn believe I'm gonna do the same thing for the end of Sukuna. But enough about the repercussions of Sukuna cutting Gojo, and let's talk about how he did it. People are very confused as to how he pulled off in the first place, and that's because the manga does a really bad job of explaining it, and therefore a lot of people believe that this was an asshole. But in actuality, we've been building up towards this moment for a couple of chapters. See, the way that the manga explains it is that Maharaja, through the ability of adaptation, is able to adapt to something the second that is hit by it. However, that takes time. This has been an ongoing thing in the JJK community for the last couple of weeks. There's been a discussion in not only the manga but also the real world as to how Maharaja adapts. However, at this point, Sukuna gives us a concrete answer as to how Maharaja adapts. See, let's say hypothetically, I punch Maharaja in the chest. Maharaja will be adapted to that punch immediately. However, the second that I punch Maharaja in the chest, it begins adapting to, let's say, right strokes. And if I give Maharaja enough time, eventually Maharaja will be completely immune to right straights. Maharaja can speed up those 5 minutes if I hit Maharaja with more right straights during that time. So if I hit Maharaja with one right straight, that starts the time ticking. That timer from 5 minutes can be cut down more and more. The more I hit Maharaja with that right straight. But Maharaga's adaptation doesn't end at becoming invulnerable to right straights. See, it takes the adaptation even further. See, Maharaja will eventually become immune to my right straight, but Maharaja will take it one step further and continue adapting until Maharaja is completely immune to concussive force, and so on and so forth. Maharaja never really ends the adaptation process. And the reason that Sukuna wanted Maharaja to be adapted to Gojo's infinity isn't because he wanted Maharaja to kill Gojo, but because he was looking towards Maharaja as an example of how to cut through infinity. That is to say that Sukuna was watching Maharaja figure out how to cut through infinity, and once Maharaja figured out how to cut through infinity, Sukuna took that example and used it against Gojo, which is kind of stupid, but there's more to the explanation. See, the way Maharaja originally adapted to infinity is that it took its own cursed energy, which is the way it adapts to everything. If you kill it with flame jujitsu, it will alter its cursed energy to no longer be vulnerable to flame jujitsu. Altering its cursed energy is something that only Maharaja can do. That level of adaptation is what makes Maharaja so strong. But Sukuna can change his cursed energy, so Sukuna force Maharaja to adapt to infinity in a way that Sukuna will be able to replicate. Here, let me break it down in an easier way. Think of Gojo's infinity like a box wrapped in this box. It's not always there. It automatically activates when a threat is detected. This is depicted at the end of the hidden inventory. Premature death. Gojo is able to ascertain if the thing coming towards him is dangerous in its weight and its speed, and then activate infinity to stop that thing, which means that only certain things are allowed to pass through Gojo's infinity. Sukuna and Maharaja were doing in the beginning of their battle against Gojo is that they were focusing their cleave attacks Gojo. And because they were focusing their attacks at Gojo, these cleave attacks are being registered as incoming ones. And since these attacks are being focused at Gojo, they were registering with his infinity and therefore being stopped. Now, Maharaja can adapt to this because Maharaja has now come into contact with infinity and therefore in a certain amount of time would be able to touch Gojo without domain amplification. But Sukuna can't do this. So Sukuna demands that Maharaja find a way to be able to cut infinity without changing its cursed energy. At this point, Maharaja then slashes
But the most important thing here is that Gojo's arm isn't the only thing that's heat, but also the building behind Gojo. Now, this doesn't seem like a massive thing at the moment because clothes carrying on to the things behind characters fighting isn't a new concept in anime. And once you separates the clouds behind you or explodes the mountain behind you, these kinds of things happen all of the time in anime and manga. What Mahoraga doing it in this moment is very important. Because Mahoraga in this moment is showing Sukuna how to cut infinity by not focusing on Gojo, but instead slashing all of the space behind Gojo. Mahoraga is able to keep infinity because one, while the slash isn't directed at Gojo, it isn't picked up as a threat automatically, and therefore Gojo's infinity doesn't detect this slash as a threat, which, leads to bisection. And also, even if Gojo's infinity did pick up on this slash as a threat, because this slash is aimed at everything behind Gojo, it actually doesn't matter how much Gojo slows the speed of this slash, the slash will go through him because it has to hit the things behind him, meaning by slashing all of the space in front of and behind Gojo, you're able to slice through his infinity. And Sukuna was able to pick up on this by Mahoraga slicing off Gojo's arm and slicing the building behind him. Thus, Sukuna was able to apply this technique and cut Gojo in half. And it's at this point that Sukuna says that because he figured this out, things like infinity no longer matter, and that so long as space exists in this world, things that exist in this space will always be divided. Which is essentially Sukuna stating that so long as he's able to cut all of space, he can cut Gojo's infinity. And if he's able to cut all of space, he can focus on cutting the space behind Gojo, which therefore Gojo wouldn't be able to stop. Sukuna then calls Gojo admirable and says that he's somebody he will never forget. And just as fast as Gojo's legs flop on over onto the ground, Sukuna's next opponent becomes very clear. And the only person who didn't grieve Gojo's death and therefore didn't hesitate at all to jump into battle against Sukuna was Kashimo, also known as the God of Thunder, the strongest sorcerer from 400 years ago. A man who allowed himself to be reincarnated into the modern era through becoming game strictly the chance to battle against Sukuna. And concerning the fact that Sukuna is highly injured, can't use his domain expansion, can't use reverse curse technique, and doesn't have Mahoraga, I would say that Kashimo has a pretty fair chance at victory in Blood. That would be really dumb. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be dumb, because obviously we're all now rooting for Kashimo to come out victorious, right? But from a logistical impulse standpoint, Kashimo, a sorcerer who's been around for, 60 or so chapters, maybe less, as obviously he came into the fray during the culling game as he took over somebody else's body and had a battle against him, which is a really good fight, did a really good job of displaying just how powerful Kashimo works. And many make the argument that Kashimo is stronger than Hikari and is probably the second strongest Jujutsu sorcerer on Earth behind Yuta right now, as obviously Hikari had an insane amount of luck in their battle and also used Kashimo's electrifying burst energy against him in their battle in a way that a lot of people felt was cheap. So if anybody on Earth is really going to step up to be the next person to battle against Sukuna, Kashimo was kind of our best bet outside of Yuta. Kashimo obviously had no connection to Gojo, unlike Yuta was a ton of connection to Gojo, and therefore him stepping up to the next person to battle against Sukuna makes a fair amount of sense, and especially when considering the fact that the entirety of his motivation is to kill Sukuna, as he existed in a timeline about 600 years after the sealing of Sukuna as the strongest sorcerer alive. When Sukuna would be alive so we could test his metal. Kashimo is a side character at best. Kashimo has one fight in the manga, a fight that he loses. And while he joins the side of the good guys in the battle against Sukuna, we still know next to nothing about him. He's not even from this era. Technically, he's only around because of Kajabi, the main bad guy. He's not tied to Jujutsu High, and him winning in a battle against Sukuna doesn't really move the plot forward in any meaningful way. It's not like he has anything to avenge against Sukuna, he just wants to see if he's stronger than him. And while I probably as much as anybody want to see Sukuna defeated, it happening at the hands of Kashimo Hajime just feels silly. Like, what if Angel was the person who killed Sukuna? What if he was the person who killed Kenjaku? It would just be. It kept the most popular character in JJK's history to have to be avenged by a character who comes up 60 or so chapters ago and then kind of disappeared from the story. We don't feel quiet. So at that point, why don't we throw Hiroki in there? If Sukuna's unable to use his domain expansion, you know who's perfect? The guy with an insanely broken domain expansion. Like, his domain expansion. Now Sukuna can't attack him. And hey, Sukuna, we have evidence he just kills Gojo. Though I guess Sukuna could argue self-defense because Gojo attacked him first. Which got him to other bad things. And now, not only when Judgman finds you guilty will you be stripped of your cursed energy, but also partly if the executioner, so the fact that Sukuna is a cursed spirit, being stripped of his cursed energy would get substantially weaker. Hiroki was introduced at the same time as Kashima, so why don't we get him over killing Sukuna? Genuinely, the only people I want to see kill Sukuna now are people from JJK High, Maki, Yuji, Yuta, Mari in there. Sure, he was introduced at the same time as Kashima, but it would still be better. So, where am I with this chapter? Well, and I'm angry, but at the same time, no, the way that Gojo died was objectively simple. It's kind of cool for the sake of being cool. We all know that Gege Akutami hates Gojo, and all of us felt as though the battle was actually over in chapter 235. In fact, the entirety of these last 4 months, ever since Gojo and Sukuna started battling, I was fairly certain that Sukuna was going to win. Why did it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me that Gojo wins this battle? Because Gojo led the battle against Sukuna so injured he wouldn't be able to battle against Kenjun. And that was the only win state that I saw for Gojo that made any sense. Because at the end of the day, Yuji has to be the one who kills Kenjun. And Yuji is quite literally Kenjun's. On top of that, he absorbed Mahito, and Mahito was running away from Yuji. So Yuji's speed with Mahito really extended to Kenjun. And Yuji, as the main character, and yes, he's the main character of this story, seems to be the person to kill the final baddie. But Sukuna is not the final baddie. While Sukuna has been hyped up as the final baddie, he's just the final baddie's really big bad bodyguard. So Gojo's death or maiming seems like a pretty high possibility to me this entire fight. However, I don't like how his death was treated. Like, I get it, Gege Akutami, you don't like Sakamoto Gojo. You're upset that everybody loved him so much when he wasn't the main character of the story, but you introduced an incredibly broken, white-haired, youthful man. So yeah, of course, people are gonna love him. And in response to people loving one of your characters, in order to move the plot forward, you had to seal him away for almost 2 years. Just give him an incredibly cool and hyped-up battle, which you never intended on having him win. But having Gojo, one of the most iconic characters in recent anime history, being killed on screen in a way that disrespectful just doesn't sit right with me. Really, anyone. I get it. We're trying to drum up as much hatred towards Sukuna as possible because he's the one who did it, right? And yeah, sure, we had a moment of Gojo saying, I tried my best, and I died in the way that I wanted to die, and now I get to spend eternity with the people that I love in a situation that I'm happy with. And sure, that was sweet, but all we needed was quite literally 2 scenes. A scene of Gojo realizing the Slash was coming to him and believing that his infinity would be in his pocket, and then a look of surprise as the Slash goes away. All in asking for killing, quite possibly the most popular character in New Gen off screen is just not the right move. But do I think that Gojo's death makes sense? Absolutely. If anything, I think Gojo should have died earlier on in the story. Instead of sealing Gojo away in the prison realm so that he can disappear from the story for 2 years, just kill Gojo off then. If we're trying to build character development in all our characters, don't keep the idea of Gojo around. As well as battle between him and Sukuna is going to be incredible when it's animated, probably the best fight in the entire show. We've now very clearly set the precedent throughout the conditions of this battle that everybody watching the battle realized that Gojo and Sukuna were completely different class systems than the rest of them. They were changing conditions to domain expansions on the fly, something that even Yuta didn't realize you could do. And they use reverse burst technique to give the brain to get their burst technique back faster than they use the domain expansion. Another thing that people at the very top of power, just underneath Gojo and Sukuna, didn't know was possible. But now in a situation eerily similar to the ending of Demon Slayer, we're now just throwing substantially weaker opponents at the strongest entity on Earth because the strongest entity on Earth has been weakened through prior conditions. When instead I think it probably would have been better to just abandon Gojo as a concept in the Shibuya incident and have everybody else in the world realize that they had to get to Gojo's level of strength in order to battle against the likes of Sukuna. But then again, I don't mind the way that things have played out. It's just the execution I'm not super in love. I don't want to compare Muzan's battle to the battle that we're currently seeing in JJK because Muzan's strength being sapped by a shot will never not be stupid. Sukuna being in a weakened state because of a high-level battle against the strongest person on Earth is fine. And now Gojo's death gives everybody involved in that battle more reason to want to take out Sukuna and make his death all the more satisfying. So all in all, my feeling about the chapter and the direction of JJK, I don't love how Gojo's death happened. However, Gojo's death happening in the way that it happened has fueled my fire of hatred for Sukuna more than basically anything else could have ever possibly dreamed about. And since that was absolutely the intended purpose, I think this chapter was really good. The people who just read JJK because they wanted to look at Gojo's pretty face from the manga, absolutely respect JJK's legacy as one of the greatest anime or manga of all time in a negative way. Awesome. But I believe it actually has a better chance of affecting it in a positive way because climbed away from Yuji as a rat and tried to run from a wolf, that was because Makoto killed Nanami. Now imagine the amount of hype revolving around the death of the person who's killed.
I need the other one. The other one.
Absolutely, he's one of my favorite characters in manga history. I am hurting. But do I believe that his death has cemented JJK as one of the greatest mangas of all time? Also, absolutely. Because here's the thing, we can sit here and scream at Gege Akutami until we're all purple in the face, but the fact that we're so invested in this fictional story that this fictional character's death has elicited that response from us to scream at another real-life human shows that this story is well written. And trust me, while it hurts right now, the payoff will be legendary. And if it's not, well, you know, we riot. Curious as to what you guys think. Do you believe that Gojo's death was warranted? Do you wish he died in a different way? Did you see his death coming? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Oh, and I feel as though I didn't even really talk about this, but Gojo is dead, guys. He got cut in half. He accepted his death. He said, I'm happy that I died by somebody stronger than me. And more than anything, I know the reverse curse technique comes from your chest, and that's why Yuki was able to make her black hole even after she was cut in half. And therefore, because Gojo still has his brain intact and the 6 eyes and most of his chest, that he could hypothetically use reverse curse technique. And watching Gojo come back to life and make my heart sing in a way that I can't even really rank with words, he's most likely gone. And we're still waiting on Nobara, and she should be alive by now. Yes, we'll acknowledge the fact that Gojo does have all the components to come back to life, especially when you consider the fact that right before he got cut in half, he hit 2 black flashes that rejuvenated all of his cursed energy, which is why it was believed that he had an advantage over Suka. Here's the thing, even if he comes back to life, as long as Suka is still alive, he can just cut him back again. So, well, yes, there is technically like a 1% chance that Gojo could come back to life. I am simply sure he's gone. So there, I've acknowledged it. We can all take one hit of copium together. Goodbye.
Be warned, I run a tight ship. All this attention is making me blush.
I gotta go find where's the boy at? Gabrielle.
Leave it to me. Impressive, huh? Leave it to me. Impressive, huh?
follow whatever orders you give me.
If you've been anywhere near a social media platform the last year or 4 years, well, at least as of the recording of this video, you've probably heard about the manga we're going to talk about today. There is one manga that will be talked about on every single social media platform, and that manga has one chapter out. And what is this one manga that's sweeping the entire nation that people are already claiming is better than the likes of the entirety of the 3? Well, that would be none other than Kakurabachi. Kakurabachi started making lines a couple of days ago because it was featured on the cover of Shonen Jump. Manga are really a dime a dozen. Just happens reached the front of Shonen Jump's weekly issue, where Kakurabachi was officially released, shouldn't have been enough to keep this manga alive. Yet a level of shame started to surround this manga that I haven't seen for the first chapter of a manga. Because while the hype surrounding Kakurabachi started, revealed being instead of a character's design and even the plot of the first chapter, chapter, the hype surrounding Kagurabachi is descended into the other. Of course, TikTok's FYP is tailored towards you. I've seen is a reflection of what you see, but I know that the entirety of my FYP is people currently memeing Kagurabachi to be the greatest anything of all time. Memes like photos of chocolate chip ice cream saying, I'm the greatest ice cream. Chocolate ice cream saying, no, I'm the greatest ice cream. And Michael Slide, no, I'm the greatest ice cream, and it's just ChiLL character this manga. Standing in the color. The meme that enough time has passed, people have already begun to dub Kagurabachi is One Piece. What started as organic and building around a really interesting looking and space manga has devolved into possibly the greatest marketing scheme for this manga possible, which made it very easily set up the next manga on Earth, or one of the biggest disappointments we've ever seen. See, because here's the thing, Chapter 1 of Black Clover, One Punch Man, MHA, Chainsaw Man, all of them generated the level of hype that Kagurabachi is currently generating. Well, obviously, a lot of hype revolved around Kagurabachi is by people who have the first chapter. One chapter into a story and is trending on every single social media means that it has a pretty good chance of being successful. Because personally, I don't read a manga until it gets 10 chapters in, because like I've already stated, manga are dying in a dozen. And if you read manga before they hit chapter 2, about 50% of them just straight up get. So this is why I just started reading Go Run. 11th chapter, and not until I see your 11 chapters do I deem that a manga is worth reading. But I decided to throw my own rule to the wayside because Kagurabachi is the biggest thing in the manga world right now. I wanted to see if the hype being generated around Kagurabachi was justified. So I sat down and I read the chapter, and honestly, I feel as though the hype actually justified. Well, the plot of the story doesn't appear to be anything particularly special. The motives and central tenets of the story are very simple. The action is quick-paced, and the art style is pretty good. For all intents and purposes, the first chapter of Kagurabachi checks all of the boxes to be a successful shonen for the next 10 or so years. That is between its manga run and hypothetical anime run. It's a gory revenge story revolving around superpowered katanas. Nothing about it breaks molds whatsoever. However, formulaic is what works. So today, I want to go over this first chapter with you and give you my honest thoughts on it and whether or not I believe Kagurabachi will turn into one of the biggest manga on Earth and be in anime one day, or if the hype revolving around Chapter 2 is just a flash in the pan. Before to reviewing anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that note bell. And if you love the idea of me giving you manga recommendations, you are going to love my anime podcast, Dogs Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you want to look like somebody who keeps up to date on new releases of manga, go ahead and head to my brand new store, DogsAnonymous.net, where you can get some of the greatest anime merch known to man. So, Kagurabachi. What is it? What's it about? What's the power system? Will it hold up? Is it worth your time?
Balsarums.
Questions like, is it worth your time? Will it hold up? Will it run to its ending? We should cover the concrete topics first. So let's start this video off in the way that we end these kinds of videos off, by answering the easy questions. So, Kagurabachi, what is it? What's it about? Well, Kagurabachi's main character is a boy by the name of Chihiro, and Chihiro grows up in a swordsman family. That is to say that Chihiro lives alone with his father, who is a legendary swordsman. And as the only person in Chihiro's life is his father, Chihiro grows up realizing his father wants to be just like him. But more importantly than anything else, Chihiro wants to grow up and do the same thing as his father, which is be a swordsmith of legendary renown. And for all intents and purposes, it appears as though Chihiro is on the path of accomplishing that. Chihiro has spent every single day of his life working with his father crafting katana. And in this capacity, we have a story that's eerily familiar to Demon Slayer, which Chihiro, much like Tanjiro, grows up idolizing his father and wants to do what his father did, which was cut down trees, burn them, create charcoal, and then sell that charcoal. Selling it, Chihiro wants to learn his father's world-renowned craftsmanship. Though, I mean, I guess being a charcoal salesman probably does have some crafts involved as well. Now, at the beginning of the chapter, it appears as though Chihiro's father thinks he is a world-renowned katana maker because of the quality of katana that he makes. And pretty much all that we're told is that he was a world-renowned katana craftsman because of the unique method he uses to create his katana. So far as we know, he just makes really sharp or really durable swords. We later learn that that's actually not the circumstance, but we'll get to that bridge when we cross it. Now, outside of Chihiro respecting his father as a craftsman, he also respects him as a father in person, as it's shown that his father is a naturally very silly person when he's not crafting katana. A man who on his way home would pick up goldfish for the house that he and his son could raise together. And outside of crafting katanas, he's shown to be quite airheaded, a silly goofy guy. But when he locks into a serious mode while crafting katanas, all of that goes away. Honestly, he feels exactly like Isshin Kurosaki from Bleach. Serious when he needs to be, silly most of the time. And one day, when Chihiro and his father are in the middle of creating a katana, an old acquaintance of his father stops by. This acquaintance goes by Mr. Shiba. Now it's revealed to us that Mr. Shiba and Chihiro's father are old friends. And since Chihiro and his father live out in the boonies making swords, occasionally Mr. Shiba will stop by with souvenirs for them. Now, Mr. Shiba very conveniently acts as an exposition vehicle, explaining to Chihiro, basically explaining to us that Chihiro's father was one of the most famous people in the world during the war, specifically the Saitei War. Now, a war being called the Saitei War is kind of interesting, because the word Saitei actually has a lot to do with swordsmanship. See, in order to introduce what Saitei is, I have to introduce another concept, and that concept is Iaido. Now, Iaido is a Japanese martial arts that's centric around pulling your sword out of its scabbard quickly and slash it. In an anime and modern-day culture, Iaido is usually referred to as Iai. Some prominent users of Iai or Iai-influenced techniques are Zenitsu with his Thunderclap and Flash, where he pulls his sword out of his katana very quickly, Nobunaga from Hunter x Hunter with his end-based Iai slashes. Now, there are 12 accepted forms of Iaido. You know how we have different forms of flame breathing, or mist breathing, or lightning breathing? That's based off the real-life Japanese principle called Saitei Gata techniques. And within Iaido, there are Saitei Gata techniques. Now, what Demon Slayer would call forms are technically referred to as kata in Japanese, but these kata fall under the umbrella of Saitei Gata techniques. So the war being referred to as the Saitei War is actually a reference to Iaido and its techniques, which actually makes sense when you consider the end of this chapter, but we'll get there when we get there. But sorry, before we went off on this long historical tangent about Japanese martial arts, we were talking about the fact that Chihiro's father was a man of legendary renown during the Saitei War, even more famous than people who fought in the war, like Mr. Shiba. And thus we've established the fact that Chihiro's father was a non-combatant and Mr. Shiba was a combatant. But Mr. Shiba elucidates Chihiro, swords that his father made were the reason the war ended. Obviously, that Mr. Shiba was she believes Chihiro's father would be swell earphones, which means people learn something about swordsmithing. To which Chihiro states they're willing to learn about aspects of swordsmithing because it's serious following your footsteps.
Let's do this!
Chihiro's father ushers him down to the basement, where there is one katana sitting on a stand. It's point to Chihiro's father, where Chihiro was a powerful katana skin for the base, all katana made for Chihiro that were used in the war. It's at this point that we get a talk that great responsibility. Chihiro's father tells Chihiro that we have as much blood on our hands as swordsmiths and people who use our swords to cut down scarecrows. Sometimes our swords may be used to slash off arrows and sea lines. Other times our swords will end up in the hands of people as swordsmiths be able to bear that weight. So much Chihiro says that he doesn't know he'll be able to bear that weight, but he knows he wants to try. Which is good news for Chihiro's father, so they do. But
Strike at that side!
during the conversation between Chihiro and his father,
Everybody's getting hyped!
46 pages into the manga. In 38 months, for those of you who can't divide by 12, is 3 years and 2 months. So Chihiro is now at least 18. And what is the first scene that we see 38 months later? Well, it's the Yakuza cutting down some innocents. See, apparently the town that Chihiro and his father live outside of has been taken over by a group of criminals referred to as the Korogumi Yakuza. However, within that town, there's some people who are trying to drive out the Yakuza, but the Yakuza doesn't really like that, so they're cutting down all these people who put up flyers trying to rally people to drive them out of town. And based on the fact that none of them have guns, but the main leader of the Yakuza has, I don't know, mutton chops? Is that what you call that? When it's like a mustache that attaches into like kind of a beard here and goes up. It's very much like a, come here, you, that was bully. Now you have to have fisticuffs. Meaning civilization there. And considering the fact that nobody in the Yakuza has guns, the main member of the Yakuza has some 1910 Depends as facial hair. I'm gonna assume we're somewhere in the early 1900s in Takarabachi. Maybe in the late 1800s because guns didn't become popular or even used at all in Japan until roughly World War I. However, getting down on this last remaining member of the people who put up posters trying to entice them out of town into real those the core of the Yakuza is backed by a sorcerer. And just like that, there's that joy. Because so fast the concept of sorcery is introduced, wouldn't you believe it? A sorcerer shows up. He puts a tree around the neck of the last remaining member of the people who put up the posters to drive up the Yakuza. Now I know what you're saying, a tree, but the tree is pointing to the bonsai tree, but instead of the bonsai tree having leaves, it has needles that are digging into space. It's not a pleasant experience, right? And then just as fast as that sorcerer shows up, he puts two fingers together and burns away into flames and disappears. The old man knows exactly as he to believe. It's very clearly been depicted with the bad guys we're served to our first look ChiLL house times.
Impressive,
Things
huh?
that have changed. While ChiLL is on a train with Mr. Shiba, his nowhere to see too. ChiLL now has a shaped scar on the side of his face. In 3, he has the black katana that his father showed him when he was teaching him a lesson about great power requiring great amounts of responsibility. So for all intents and purposes, ChiLL has grown up. It's not in a fun way. In fact, for the entirety of the manga, he kind of looks like Yuta from JJK. Characters look at ChiLL, Shiba, the post-skip hair, opens with a conversation. Mr. Shiba saying that ChiLL knows he can get the scar in his face removed, which, if you see this like 1910, 1890, it definitely differs from technology. So our good situation here, for any technology, but considerable tools are able to do to cover that a little bit. I guess it kind of makes sense. But as one of the ChiLL is was that he's not gonna be your phone type of MC. He's not gonna be Naruto, he's not gonna be Goku, he's not gonna try to talk people out of their bad habits. Because it's at this point that ChiLL says, I know I can get rid of this scar, I just don't want to. Because every morning when I wake up to wash my face, I see this scar and a new wave of fresh fury washes over my body. So we don't have your standard shonen, friendship, and happiness MC. We more have your standard seinen, I'm gonna kill everybody and everything MC. Think early Thornton, Guts, Yuji, modern day Yuki. And just as soon as they're done talking about ways to keep yourself angry 24/7, their train arrives in the town, which is now currently being controlled by the Kokumi Yakuza. At which point ChiLL and Mr. Shiba see the Kokumi Yakuza has hung up 4 people rallying against them, trying to drive them out of the city or town. Whatever, I don't really know how big it is, but the reason the Yakuza has hung up these 4 people is to send a message to everybody in the town that if you try to battle against us, you will be made an example of. And thus you can see on the faces of everybody in the town that they've given up, that they understand that the Yakuza is in charge, and the best way to stay alive is to not question. Now, this is ChiLL's first time in the town, so ChiLL, upon arriving at the train station, was wondering whether or not the leader of the Yakuza would be a reasonable person to talk to. Essentially, ChiLL was trying to wait for his beef, and we don't understand why he has beef with the Yakuza. Boy, oh boy, do I have a couple of guesses without having to cut each and every single of them down. For in the next scene in the manga, and ChiLL gets the cut and each and every single of them down, because nothing really destroys the idea that these guys might be reasonable than hanging 4 people, putting up posters. So ChiLL and Mr. Shiba down for the Yakuza for hanging out, and pretty much as quickly as they get there, they get the cut. Mr. Shiba uses a sword that slices through the neck of the Yakuza members, and ChiLL pulls the sword out of that guy's neck and decapitates everybody else at the table. This is where the manga starts to get interesting. ChiLL sleep that serves on the inside of the Yakuza. Still interrogating the one guy who's the and they find out that he has a little sister. They're gonna go find a little sister and make him give up information.
Keep it together!
And just as they move out of their hideout to find this child, the guy who opens it gets slashed across the chest. ChiLL then proceeds to rip down the previous understanding by this guy. Concerned with one of the older hands I've seen in the first chapter of the manga. Now, this is a undead version of ChiLL. Only his eyes visible, standing in a sea of visceral of the people that he just sliced and diced. And in this moment, he reminds me a lot of Zombie Man from One Punch. After he's cut down these 4 Yakuza members at the front of the hideout, Mr. Shiba tells everybody inside of the Yakuza hideout who ChiLL is. And that is to say that he tells all of them that ChiLL is the son of Kunishige here, the legendary swordsman king making swords that nobody else could. And at this point, they begin a good look into what's going to motivate ChiLL for the duration of this manga, as he tells the members of the Yakuza that he wants to ask them something, and that also he, as a swordsman, lesson that his father taught him about how the swordsman carries all of the burden of the souls taken with the swords they create very close to his heart, and therefore the concept of anybody using katanas in evil ways makes Chihiro very mad, and therefore his core motivation outside of avenging what was probably the loss of his father also be to make sure the katana was wielded by evil women. Easily, Steve was not super stoked about an 18-year-old kid, so a bunch of them first, so they all pull up the katana that Chihiro believes they should in Russian. It's in this point that's revealed that Chihiro has two separate souls, kind of like your standard samurai. As your standard samurai or Ronin would have a standard katana, but also wield a shorter one, which is called a wakizashi. Now, prior to this moment, Chihiro had been using this wakizashi, his shoulder blade. However, as all of his members of the Yakuza began to rush him, he switched to his katana, which is the black katana that his father gave him. And as Chihiro begins to pull out his katana, it's revealed to us that the reason that the katana that his father made was special weren't because they were sharper or more durable, but because Chihiro's father was able to imbue his katanas with sorcery, and thus the blade that Chihiro's father made were imbued with special powers, not just the special powers, but everybody else's souls, and therefore upon the turn of his katana, Chihiro summons the three fish that his father picked that his father was a silly kind of guy. His father bought Chihiro with 10 black wolves in one truck color. Now technically Chihiro was shooting this blade and saying we both received 2 goldfish, which would either mean that this is Chihiro's full form, or that he's unable to use the goldfish, or just mean that the mangaka wanted to show off as much of the goldfish as possible and getting 3 goldfish you would see at that size. Or the American. Now honestly, more leaning towards the fact that Chihiro was unable to use the red goldfish. As Chihiro's ruler states that the red / goldfish is supposed to bring good fortune, while black goldfish is supposed to bring evil. The tricolor goldfish is supposed to be just spectacular. Is there a possibility that Chihiro's heart is steeped in so much anger and malice that he's not able to use the red goldfish because it only brings good fortune, and therefore he uses the black goldfish to wards off malice, and the tricolor goldfish because we don't know what it actually does yet. And upon releasing this sword and his goldfish, Mr. Shiba once again acts as an exposition, stating that this was Chihiro's father's last katana, the one he gave his life to make, which confirms to us what we all knew the second we saw Chihiro's scars, that his father was dead. Anyway, the second that his father was introduced, I knew he was gonna die. However, if this is the last sword that Chihiro's father ever made, unless Chihiro's father made this sword before showing him the sword in the room in the basement to teach him the lesson about responsibility, that means that the sword that Chihiro is wielding that allows him to summon his goldfish actually isn't the sword that his father showed him. Now, there is a possibility that his Wazikashi is the sword that his father showed him, but it's a manga, it's black and white, a lot of the swords look the same. Regardless, Chihiro is able to use abilities like his black, which takes his black goldfish and allows him to slash an entire room of Yakuza members in half. And thus Chihiro goes on a rampage that's eerily reminiscent of the first chapter of Demon Slayer meeting the first chapter of Chainsaw Man, because obviously Chihiro is using supernatural sword skills, very similar to what Gyu does in chapter 1 of Demon Slayer. However, these abilities appear to actually manifest. Though when we were all reading chapter 1 of Demon Slayer, we believed that these abilities actually manifested. But instead of fighting against one person, Chihiro was fighting down an entire room of people, eerily reminiscent to what Denji does in chapter 1 of Chainsaw Man. And after Chihiro is done using his black to cut down a ton of Yakuza members, he switches to his other goldfish, Nishiki. Now, Nishiki is the Japanese word for brocade, and that's not an arcade where they sell $1 beers. See, a brocade is a richly colored, highly decorated fabric. That fabric is usually silk, with patterns raised in either gold or silver thread. Like the fanciest material with a bunch of different colors you can imagine. The brocade is usually used to make dresses or kimonos of the highest quality, and thus the tricolor goldfish being referred to as Nishiki is not only a reference to its beautiful tricoloration, but is also a reference to a famous downtown shopping center in Kyoto, Nishiki Market, where one, back in this time, would have bought something like goldfish. And thus with the power of his black and his Nishiki, Chihiro is able to cut down everybody in the Yakuza, leading to one of the gorier first chapters that I can remember. That is, in manga, not written by Tatsuki Fujimoto. And after cutting down everybody in the Yakuza, except for the mustachy leader guy, Chihiro goes on to ask him what he knows about the Hisaku, who are apparently the group of sorcerers that back this wing of the Yakuza. Now, the Hisaku is also kind of a hilariously non-discreet thing to call a group of sorcerers that exist in secret, because Hisaku in Japanese quite literally means secret plans or measures, and thus the trope of understanding Japanese and reading a manga or watching an anime just realizing all the names are lazy puns continues. Chihiro tells Mustache Man, who's telling him that he's crazy for even looking for the Hisaku, that he's very clearly not saying this, he just killed about 100 people, and that it doesn't matter who the Hisaku are because he needs to cut them down. And thus ends the first chapter of the most widely hyped manga I've ever seen. So now that we know what happens and why it happens, and some of the behind the scenes on why certain things were named to be what they are, did the chapter live up to the hype? Do I believe that it's worth a read? Do I think it's going to get a long manga run? Do I believe it's going to get an anime one? And to all of those questions, I answer with a overwhelming yes. This manga will run to completion. It will get an anime one day, and it is mostly worth reading. See, here's the thing. I believe that if you have the Shonen Jump app, you fall into one of two camps. There are the Wild Strawberry, Undead Unlock, Fire Punch, and Chainsaw Man readers. People who enjoy when a manga tries to break out of the standard, typical, formulaic pattern in which we see a lot of manga fall into. Or also trying to break out of that pattern by encompassing their entire story in more gore than you can. And I believe that those people will find a lot of the things that they like in this story. As when it comes down to first chapters, this first chapter is not as much gore in it as Chainsaw Man or Fire Punch. The other 10 people who have the Shonen Jump app are the people who love formulaic shonen. These are your Black Clover, Fire Force, Dawn Dawn, and JJK readers. By the way, I'm aware that Fire Punch and Dawn Dawn are on Shonen Jump. These are manga that do the formulaic shonen thing, but do it really well. There's nothing wrong with your story being formulaic so long as you do the formula really well. There's a reason the formula exists, because it's entertainment. And there will also be some entertainment in this story for that section of manga readers. I believe this anime does a really good tightrope walk between being incredibly formulaic, as it's about a rebel story and a boy with an enchanted katana, and breaking the mold a little bit by making the main character an unrepentant sociopath,
If you're just
bent on
looking this
putting
up
down
for
anybody
kicks.
between him and his goal. There will be no switching to a gentle water breathing style to cut off this demon's head, as it is a sad backstory moment. This entire manga, if I'm correct, will be full to its eyeballs with gore as Chihiro cuts his way through anybody and anything that gets in his way on his path to revenge. But at the same time, it feels as though this manga has a fair amount of Bleach-esque humor on the way. Not overtly funny, but entertaining enough. Considering the fact that this story revolves around enchanted katanas, I think one of the closest facsimiles to compare this story to will be Bleach, as there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that a large part of the story will revolve around Chihiro recollecting all of the sword that his father made that fell into the hands of the wrong people. And thus, I think this story is going to be about Chihiro finding more and more powerful people with more and more powerful katanas and cutting them down one after one, until eventually he'll be able to avenge the loss of his father, which probably came at the hands of the Hisaku, and recollect all of his father's lost works. I also think there's going to be a large undertone of Chihiro trying to find that red gold rush, and Chihiro becoming the boy that his father wishes he could have been. And because we as a society are so obsessed with the bad guy, good guy nowadays, I mean, look at Denji, Yuji, Eren, the Chihiro is going to maintain the level of popularity that he already somehow has. But do I think that the hype for this manga is going to fall off a cliff? Absolutely. There's no way it could maintain the level of hype it's currently holding on to. That would be next to impossible. But do I think it has the capability to exist in the top 3 of current manga? Actually, yeah. One Punch Man is in, well, let's just say, a pretty serious slump. As we're in the middle of a long, drawn-out political arc about the Neo heroes popping up and dissolving the Hero Association. Black Clover just went to Jump Gigas. We're only getting 4 chapters of it a year. MHA will be done within 6 months at most. JJK has a fair shake at being done within a year. Dawn Dawn, one of the most popular manga on Earth, isn't on Shonen Jump. Undead Unlock is the least talked about 175-chapter manga, maybe of all time. And Chainsaw Man is also kind of in a weird little slump right now in its whole Chainsaw Man church arc. I genuinely see Kagurabachi being able to bang the likes of JJK and One Piece for the foreseeable future, because the biggest barrier of entry is reading chapter 1, and millions of people are currently reading its chapter 1. And considering that its chapter 1 had a little bit of something for everybody, I see Kagurabachi holding up to a fair amount of readers. But what do you guys think? Have you read Kagurabachi? Did this video convince you to read Kagurabachi? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. You know what's great? By the time that this video is out, chapter 2 will be out, and maybe chapter 2 will be horrifically bad, and the hype around this manga will be technically powers in anime. They're as iconic as the characters or the battles that make an anime interesting. Sure, you can give me an interesting character with a cool character development and a cool design, but if the powers that they use aren't that interesting, it's gonna be hard for me to stay interested in said anime. Which is why for an aspiring mangaka, the creation of a power system that pulls people in and keeps them there is essential. In fact, if I were to give any advice for anybody trying to write a battle shonen right now, I would say start with the power system. Identify how the powers in the universe are going to work, make it make sense, figure out different ways the powers can be used in unique and interesting ways, and build characters around the powers that you created. Make characters personifications of the powers that they use.
I would like here, let's fight this thing. Probably gonna leave.
Come on, let's kick some ass.
Yep.
Not bad. Looks like we're up against quite the nasties. Isn't over.
All right. That was a good stopping point. Let me get up, make myself some breakfast. So I will see you guys later.